We're going to item number 6.
Bring that one back in 2 weeks too.
Discuss the ordinance regulating food trucks.
All right, Miss Tammy's not here.
She's on her way, she says.
Okay,
She made it out of jail.
out of jail.
She was there for work, not.
Oh, I was like,
No,
wait,
no.
did she not pay her parking
No,
tickets again?
she had to go
Like, you know.
do her job, and all that stuff.
Alright. Do we have? To go on
They go ahead and go.
with that.
Why don't we move that to the top of the list, 2 weeks?
She will hurt everyone, I think.
We have an hour before we meet.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait on it.
She can always add her comments at the tail end.
She should have had an opportunity to read it. Okay, so this is what I've done, and I know that there was a lot of red in what I sent you. But primarily what I did was to avoid having to repeat the same general regulations over and over again about, you know, safety, sanitation, things like that. I combined the 3 ordinances we already had, which were restaurants, drive-in restaurants, and outdoor cafes. And then at the end of that, I added mobile food vendors. So the first section, and these are just suggestions, but I noticed that there is a big difference in the fees between a restaurant and a drive-in restaurant, which didn't really make sense to me. A restaurant, the fee annually is $75, but a drive-in restaurant, the fee was $20. That doesn't make sense. So I changed the drive-in to 20, or to 75, I'm sorry. And of course, that's just a suggestion. Commission can change that, or, not change it at all, or whatever. The outdoor cafe was already at $300 for the first year, and I think that's because there's a much more in-depth review of the plat. Yay, and then it's only $50 a year after that, and I didn't change that because the amount is so much upfront. For mobile food vendors, and I looked at license fees across the state, and I found some, even up to about $200. The standard was about $100 a year, but I didn't do it at 100 because our restaurant license is only 75, and I thought that doesn't make sense. So I put a year's license at 75, a 6-month license at 50, and a single event license at 20. And hopefully that would encourage people to just go ahead and get their annual license and be done with it, and then Linda and her girls don't have to, keep issuing licenses, every 6 months or every time there's an event or whatever. That would just encourage people to get an annual license and be done with it. So, the very first section is the adoption of Oklahoma law, and that kept us from having to repeat a lot of a lot of guidelines in here.
So this way they just have to comply with the state.
They
health
have to
stuff.
comply with the state health, with all of the state health. They have to comply with all of the licensing requirements, everything. So, and there's a few changes here and there, they're very minor. The big thing really is when you get to the food truck part, or to the mobile vendors.
Mobile vendor does not include lemonade stands. Tammy
I
will
did that
send
for
it in.
Tammy.
Yeah.
Not just for Tammy, but for all the kids that want to do lemonade stands. Okay, so there are different types of mobile vendors. And so there are a little bit of different rules for them. The application and the fee are the same for each of them. The first type of mobile vendor is a seasonal food service establishment, and examples are snow cone stands, coffee and drink stands, things like that. Those would require a plat or a small drawing telling us where they're going to be, their location, how big they are, how long they're going to be there, and that would help on the licensing too. If they only wanted to get a 6-month license, they could choose to get their license in May, and then it would be good for 6 months, or, you know, so if they came to us in February, they could go ahead and purchase their license in February, but it wouldn't begin until May, so they could tell us, you know, when they want their license to start. So the location and size of the vehicle entrances and exits and the type of parking that's available. The second type is the seasonal fruit and vegetable stand. Examples are fruit and vegetables, just regular fruit and vegetable stands, and then farmers markets. And by the way, the farmers market, if, actually either of these, if a vendor is selling their own fruits and vegetables that they grew, they're not required by the state to get a health department certificate. I think we would though want them to still come in, just so we know where they're setting up shop, so that they're not setting up a shack, you know, on public property or, you know, the right of way or.
So would the entire farmer's market, like Enid farmer's market operates as an
I think just one license would be sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see why you need one for each, especially because the vendors change, you know, each time. I think one would be sufficient. But each person, if they go, and if they're not selling their own things, but most of them are, if they're not selling their own things, though, they would still need to comply with the state law. So the third one is the mobile food sales, and this is what we typically consider to be food trucks. And so the food trucks are like the hot food trucks, you know, they're selling hot dogs or whatever. It can also be push carts, pedal carriers, temporary stands, things like that. Temporary stand might be where, you know, somebody sets up a hot dog stand, you know, at an event downtown or something like that. That's also considered, one of the hot food vendors. And it has more restrictions. And I don't know if you read through these restrictions, but I got most of these from the other cities, also Oklahoma City. The first one is that they won't sell within 150 feet of any public school that's in session. I think that's especially important with our schools here because we have close campuses. I mean, we wouldn't want to tempt our children to leave campus. It probably wouldn't take much tempting. The second one is that they wouldn't sell within 150 feet of a stationary establishment that is selling either the same or similar items. You know, we